Radar stands for radio detection and ranging, and it was developed in the 1930s as a military system to detect and locate friendly and hostile aircraft. Today, radar is also extremely important in civil aviation. There are basically two types of radar currently in use: pulsed systems and continuous wave systems. The continuous wave system has limited application, such as for the radio altimeter, which requires that there be no minimum range limitation. Our attention will principally be directed at pulsed systems. There are two types of pulsed systems: primary and secondary radar. Primary radar receives echoes of the radio energy from its own transmitter reflected back from a target, so it is the same frequency which is emitted and reflected. Primary radar transmits pulses on one frequency to interrogate a target and the object interrogated is triggered to send back its own pulses on a different frequency. It therefore receives pulses back on a different frequency from a separate transmitter in the target. Some secondary radars introduce an intentional time delay between reception and response. We will look at secondary radar in its own lesson. ATRAPHIC control uses radar for these operations. ATRAPHIC control uses radar for these purposes. Airborne weather radar is used for these purposes. Radar systems operate in the VHF frequency bands and above, firstly because the shorter wavelengths produce narrow beams which are effective for target discrimination and bearing measurement. Secondly, because the shorter wavelengths can produce shorter pulses and hence a shorter minimum range. However, the shorter the wavelength, the less the maximum range. Thirdly, these frequencies are free from external noise and ionospheric scatter. Finally, shorter wavelengths are reflected more efficiently. Primary radar antennae emit a continuous train of pulses. If these pulses strike a target, a small proportion of the transmitted energy will be reflected back to the antenna as an echo and fed into the receiver. The direction in which the antenna is pointing at this time denotes the bearing of the aircraft, whilst the time between the transmission and return of each individual pulse determines range. For precision, the pulses should be as narrow as possible and the antenna most commonly used is the parabola. Pulses of energy are transmitted into the dish, which are then reflected into an almost parallel-sided beam. The larger the antenna, the narrower the beam. The most common types of radar dish are shown here, including the slotted plane array used for weather radar. Here we see a typical radiation band showing the inevitable loss of energy into side lobes. It is normal to use only one antenna for both transmission and reception of the pulses, as both cannot happen at the same time. It is necessary to disconnect the receiver whilst the transmitter is firing. This makes primary pulse systems unsuitable for very short-range systems, since the leading edge of the pulse will arrive back at the radar dish whilst the transmitter is still firing and will therefore not reach the receiver unit which is still switched off. Very short-range radar, such as airport ground radar, is however possible by using super high and extremely high frequencies, normally between 15 and 17 GHz, but then it operates over a very short distance. This installation by Advanced Aviation Technology in the UK uses a frequency of 77 GHz and it is even able to detect debris on a runway. It is the pulse width, also called pulse length, which governs the minimum range. The longer the pulse length, the longer the minimum range. A pulse of 1 microsecond measures 300 meters. 150 meters would therefore be the minimum range at which the leading edge would be returning whilst the trailing edge was still being transmitted. This then is the minimum range. Two other terms need to be known. Pulse recurrence interval PRI or pulse recurrence period. PRP is the time interval between the start of two pulses. Pulse recurrence frequency PRF or pulse recurrence rate PRR is the number of pulses in a second. If the PRF is 250 pulses per second, what is the PRI of the transmission? Each pulse takes 1/250th of a second. If we change the second into 1 million microseconds, then 1/250th of this is 4000 microseconds. Radar range is calculated using slant range, that is, from the ground station to the aircraft, not along the ground to below the aircraft. The distance to an object is found by timing the interval between the instant of the pulse's transmission and its return as an echo. Mathematically, the calculation is easy. Distance equals speed times time, and we know that speed is 3 times 10 to the power of 8 meters per second. Let's look at an example. If the time it takes to receive the echo is 500 microseconds, then as distance equals speed 300 million meters per second times time of 500 millionth of a second divided by 2 to get the one-way distance. If you want the answer in nautical miles, then replace the 300 million meters per second by 162,000 nautical miles per second. A quicker way is to divide the time of 500 microseconds by 12.36, the time of a radar mile. The maximum theoretical unambiguous radar range is determined by the pulse repetition frequency. Each pulse must be allowed to go to its designed range and back before the next pulse starts. The greater the range required, the longer each pulse must travel out and back. Therefore, there must be fewer of them in each second. This is a lower PRF. For example, we want a radar range of 187 kilometers. What should the PRF be? The pulse must travel there and back, that is, 374 kilometers or 374,000 meters. So how long does that take? The speed of radio waves is 300 million meters per second. Divide speed by distance, which gives us 0.001246 of a second, or 1246 microseconds. The pulse recurrence interval is 1246 microseconds. How many of these pulse recurrence intervals will fit into a whole second? That is, 1,000,000 microseconds. The answer is 802. Put another way, how many times can a pulse travel 374,000 meters in a second when it is traveling at a speed of 300 million a second? The answer is 802. In practice, the maximum range is less than the theoretical. Because once out at the maximum range, a CRT screen trace needs time to return to its point of origin. This period is called the flyback time. During this time, echoes cannot be displayed, thereby reducing the range achievable for any given PRF. Flyback time can also be called dead time. Several factors affect the range of primary radar in the same way as they affect all forms of radio wave propagation. Firstly, there is transmission power. You will recall that in order to double radio range, power has to be quadrupled. With radar, we have a two-way path, so now we need a 16-fold power increase. Radar frequencies use the space wave, and so are limited by line of sight, modified by atmospheric refraction. The formula for maximum theoretical range in nautical miles is 1.23 times the sum of the square root of the height of the transmitter in feet above mean sea level plus the square root of the height, also in feet above mean sea level of the receiver. The material, shape and size of the target are all relevant. Wood is a worse reflector than metal, while surfaces presented at a certain angle, such as by stealth aircraft or head-on aircraft, compared to full side-on aircraft, make poor returns. Large shapes are obviously easier to detect than small ones. Because of their frequency bands, radar transmissions are line of sight. So buildings close to the radar dish and mountains can get in the way. Raindrops can also attenuate radar waves, and the extent to which this happens depends upon the size of the raindrop and the size of the wavelength. Waves lengths less than 4 centimeters can be badly affected by a rain even in temperate climates. Between 4 and 10 centimeters, attenuation is only significant in tropical storms. At wavelengths greater than 10 centimeters, attenuation is negligible. Atmospheric conditions can improve range by causing the waves to bend back towards the Earth's surface. This is called superrefraction. It is experienced when there is a marked temperature inversion and a rapid decrease in humidity. Conditions can also reduce range, subrefraction, whereby the waves are bent upwards away from the Earth. We looked at these phenomena in the lesson on propagation. Pulse length determines the minimum range. As we said earlier, this is when the leading edge of the pulse would be returning, whilst the trailing edge was still being transmitted. Bearing information on planned position indicator radars, that is, the traditional revolving line which produces a display-like map, works on the search-like principle. However, there is a limit to how narrow a beam can be produced. We'll assume that this one has a width of 3 degrees from edge to edge. On the radar, this paint has a single line which depicts the center of the beam. Now let's add a radar target, which we'll say is 1 mile across. When the right-hand edge of the beam is just touching the left-hand edge of the target, the return will paint on the screen. It will continue to paint until the left-hand edge of the beam passes the right-hand edge of the target. Half the beam width has been added to each side of the actual target position to give a wider radar return. The responses get wider the further they are from the transmitter. Another distortion comes from pulse length. Let's suppose that we are using a pulse length of 3 microseconds. At 300 million meters a second, that represents 900 meters on a one-way path. However, radar carries out its timing using a two-way path, so we divide by 2 to get 450 meters. Now let's go back to that response from the last scene, already widened from beam width. Distortion. No response can be less than 450 meters in depth, even if we were looking at a thin metal sheet. So a distance representing 450 meters is added to the back of the trace. It merges like this. There is also the consideration of the actual size of the spot produced on the screen by the cathode ray gun. Though small, it will still have a finite diameter, and this will represent the distance which depends on the scale being used by the radar picture. Suppose the spot was 0.5 millimeter wide, and the scale was 1 to 1 million. That would give us a minimum spot size distortion of 500 meters. Now let's go back to our response, already distorted by beam width and pulse length. We have to add the spot size all the way around the edges on all sides. In this example, this would be a further distortion of 250 meters, which to the observer would appear like this. Surveillance radar equipment incorporates circuitry designed to eliminate returns from stationary objects such as hills or buildings, which would give returns that would mask the weaker returns from aircraft. By using Doppler techniques to erase the permanent echoes, the radar is able to display only the moving targets such as aircraft. This is known as moving target indication or MTI. It is possible for a radar receiver on MTI to produce false targets as a result of second trace returns. These are returns of the preceding pulse from a target beyond the maximum range selected, appearing during the period of the next pulse as a moving target. In order to overcome this problem, MTI radars remove second trace returns by changing the pulse recurrence interval between consecutive pulses, a technique known as jittering the PRF. The most common type of radar antenna is the parabolic dish or parabolic cylinder. The shape of the dish is carefully constructed so that any point on it is equidistant from a point away from the dish, called the focal point. If the current is emitted at this focal point, all the waves to the parabola are reflected as parallel waves. Also, the path lengths are all equal. Thus, the reflected wave is made up of parallel rays which are all in phase, thereby producing a narrow beam of radio waves. Because the focal point is minute, the energy from the waveguide will cover a slightly larger area and there will be some spillage of energy which causes side lobes to be transmitted. These may cause radar returns from outside the target area of the main beam. A much smaller type of radar antenna is the flat plate or slotted plane or array. We have seen with the ILS localizer antenna that if a series of antennae are spaced at half a wavelength and are fed in phase, the energy from the antennae is enhanced. This is the principle of the slotted array antenna and the energy is emitted from the multiple slots in the plate. This type has the advantages that the side lobes are smaller, thereby wasting less power. The RF energy is therefore concentrated into a narrow beam. It therefore needs less electrical power. This makes it a popular choice for airborne weather radars. Let's summarize this lesson. We started by distinguishing between primary and secondary radars. Primary radars may be pulsed or continuous wave. They measure range by the echo principle and bearing by the searchlight principle. Secondary radars require the cooperation of the target. They are based on a transponder response. However, they also measure range by the echo principle and bearing by the searchlight principle. Pulse width or pulse length is the length of each pulse, usually measured in microseconds. Pulse recurrence interval is the time between each pulse. The gain usually in microseconds. Pulse recurrence frequency is the number of pulses in a second. Pulse recurrence frequency and pulse recurrence interval are inversely proportional to each other. The radar range is the time taken for the echo to return divided by 12.36, the figure used for the radar